Hello and welcome to another special edition of Immigration Clinic with Dr. Kwebanwo, straight coming right at you on Law FM 103.9. You want to join us every week for a new exciting episode of Immigration Clinic with Dr. Kwebanwo at the Law FM 103.9. I'm doing this one right on a cruise where I am having some meetings with my partners on a 5-day cruise across the Caribbean, and I decided to just do this episode live from you on the cruise ship, the Virgin cruise ship. On this show, we are going to be breaking down, or we've been breaking down the different types of visas for those of us who are inclined to emigrate from Nigeria, and also sharing some other thoughts and ideas about what might be important to you, even before you Japa, maybe even Japa is not even what you need to be thinking about, or or how to plan your Japa before you go. Of course, my name is Dr. Kwebanwo. I'm an immigration attorney based in the USA, and I've been an attorney admitted to the New York bar since 1995. That is 29 years ago, and also an attorney in Nigeria since 1986. So I've been long at this game, and so I want to appreciate you for tuning in today. As we do every week, we're going to focus on a theme for today so that you can ask your questions. I can break down some of the parameters of the particular theme of the week. And today we're going to be talking about H-1B visa to the US, because obviously we're in the H-1B season right now, where the applications have been thrown open. The so-called lottery is now open to the public, and I know that a lot of people are talking about this, a lot of misrepresentation out there. But my job as the host of the Japa Without Tears, or call it Immigration Clinic with Dr. Kwebanwo, is to separate the fact from fiction for you. First, right off the bat, okay, before we even appreciate our sponsors of this program, I want to debunk a myth out there already on this H-1B petition to the USA, H-1B visa petition to the US. Right now, there have been people out there, even some are scammers, some are just simply ignorant, where they have been saying people should pay them some money so that they can help them apply for the H-1B lottery. As if lottery is like the kind of lottery you do where anybody can go and apply, and then hopefully they select you at the end of the exercise. H-1B visa is not like that. The lottery they are referring to is the lottery of people who have already applied, or who are applying for the H-1B visa, complete with sponsorship by a U.S. company. In other words, they already have an employer. The employer is planning to petition for them. And because there are many more people than the 65,000 quota that they give to H-1B every year, there are too many more applications than that 65,000. They do what they call a lottery for those who are applying, meaning everybody who applies for the H-1B, who already have an employer who is applying for them, they will put all of them into what is called a lottery so that they can select the quota for the year, which is the 65,000. It's very different from the lottery that most people know, where anybody can apply from anywhere and hopefully they will select you. And there is no money for you to go and apply for any H-1B visa lottery. Anybody who's telling you that is either trying to scam you or is ignorant also, because in the land of the blind, the one-eyed man is king. Even those who don't have visas to the US, they are teaching you how to get visa to the US. Those who are not lawyers, they're out there because there's so much desperation for people who want to travel abroad. Don't fall into that. If you would like to talk to a lawyer about your case, I would recommend you actually give me book an appointment to talk with me for a one-on-one, 1-hour discussion about your specific case. And you want to go to okwebanwo.net to book that appointment. It's a one-on-one legal consultation with an attorney that has been admitted to the New York bar in 1997. That's actually 27 years. I got to the US in 1995 and got admitted to the New York bar in 1997. That is 27 or 28 years now, because we're in 2024, 27 years of being admitted to the New York bar. And then by myself, I've been a lawyer for far longer than that in Nigeria since 1986. I've been living in the US since 1995. And when it concerns anything to do with visas in the US, I'm definitely an expert, because that's all I've done since I started my law firm in 1997. We're a 20-person law firm right now, and this is all we do. So please, if you would like to know about how H-1B applies to you or not, or you'd like to discuss all the visa options open to you and your family, and what is the best way to Japa and how to prepare for it, you actually want to book an appointment with me to talk about some of those exciting green card options available for you, like EB1, EB2, L visa, O visa, P visa. Some of these green card options that you have not even been aware of before, as opposed to just going to go give your money to a tout. At least talk to me first. Book an appointment at okpebanwo.net. It's only $100, and we can talk for about an hour. I'll answer any questions and then look at your options for you. Again, if you are watching this, you are watching Immigration Clinic with Okpebanwo on Law FM 103.9. So today we are going to be talking about the H-1B petition, the H-1B option for you to come to the U.S. if U.S. is an area that you are looking at Japa into, or that you are looking at immigration to. So what exactly is this H-1B occupation? What exactly is an H-1B occupation? H-1B is the kind of visas they give to people with specialized industries for specialized jobs. It sounds complicated, but really it's not. Basically, H-1B is for people who are getting employed in the U.S. in a position that requires a minimum of a university degree to do that job. Not just because you have a university degree, but that the job itself, for you to be able to do it normally, you need a university degree to do it. That's why it's called a specialty visa occupation. In other words, it is not just for anybody, and it's not just for everybody who has a university degree. No, it must be that the job that you are coming to do in the US requires, at the very minimum, a university degree to do it. So what exactly is the H-1B again? I love to repeat myself, because some of you are just tuning in to Law FM 103.9, or you just jumped into the radio show, you don't even know what's going on. Hopefully, if I repeat myself well enough, you will be able to get the gist before the show is over. So what is the H-1B visa that we are focusing on today? It's a work permit that allows U.S. employers to temporarily employ foreign workers in specialty occupations. That is the straight-up definition. A work visa that allows U.S. employers to temporarily employ foreign workers in a specialty occupation. By temporary, they mean up to 3 years, renewable for another 3 years. And of course, there are ways to convert that to green card once you are here in that H-1B category. So I've said this twice already, but what exactly is a specialty occupation for immigration purposes? This is an occupation that requires specialized knowledge and a bachelor's degree to do it. Two things. It must require specialized knowledge, not just knowledge anybody can get just by reading paper. And then it must require a bachelor's degree, a university degree, or the equivalent, meaning HND, or an equivalent work experience. That's the way they value it, to say, okay, your experience can be valued as being equivalent to a university degree. So that's what a specialty occupation is for the purposes of H-1B visa. It requires specialized knowledge and a bachelor's degree to be able to do it. So you might be asking yourself, what exactly is it? Again, I will repeat it because there's a lot of confusion about this. For you to qualify for H-1B visa, which is a work-related visa to the US that allows you to come in and be able to work from day one. It also allows you to bring in your children and your spouse, but they may not get work permit. We'll come to that later. All right? It must be a specialized knowledge kind of job that requires a university degree. So theory sometimes can get confusing. So what are the examples of H-1B specialty occupation? Let's look at some of them, because it is from hearing of some examples that you understand. A computer professional, a university teacher, engineer, accountant, financial analyst, management consultant, obviously a lawyer, architect, a nurse, a specialized type of nurse, doctors, obviously physicians, surgeons, dentists, scientists, systems analysts, some editors, a foreign law advisor, a market research analyst. So the list goes on and on. But the key thing is that the standard that will be used is this profession, this job that you want to go and do. Does it require the minimum of a university degree industry-wide or equivalent of a university degree before you can do it? If the answer is no, then it doesn't matter how many degrees you have, even if you have a PhD. If the job itself does not require minimum of a university degree or equivalent, then it does not qualify. And it doesn't matter how low the job is. If it requires a university degree to do it, then it is an H-1B qualified position. This is very important. The reason why this visa is filled every year is because it's one of the easiest to get if you qualify. Here are more examples again. I want to repeat myself. Computer professionals are typically H-1B profession. University teachers, engineers, accountants, financial analysts, management consultants, lawyers, architects, nurse, doctor, physicians, surgeons, dentists, system analysts, law advisors, psychologists, market research analysts. There's literally hundreds of them. So if you're going to be applying for H-1B, you want to talk to your lawyer to be sure that particular job itself requires a specialized knowledge and a university degree. And if you're an employer watching this and you are thinking about employing somebody from abroad for your company that you want to file H-1B for, you need to meet this criteria. H-1B is a great visa to come to the US because it prevents you from going to go buy groceries at Walmart. It allows you to work with your education from day one. It allows you to work with your degree. And it is good for 3 years. It allows you to bring your spouse. It allows you to bring your children under 21 in what is called H4. So what is the criteria for a particular job position to qualify? I'll repeat it again so that you get it. For a particular job position, remember, we have talked about the general qualification. It must be a job in the industry that requires minimum university degree to do the job. All right. So now we are talking about for the particular job position that you may be coming with, what are the criteria that will qualify it as a specialty occupation? Remember, I said two things. It must be a specialty occupation and also be an occupation that requires minimum a university degree for you to be able to do it. Sometimes the two are not the same. Being a specialty occupation does not mean it must require a university degree, right? And having a university degree does not mean it's a specialty occupation. English is not a specialty occupation. So, but you must have both specialty occupation and require a college degree. We have shared a few minutes ago about what are the typical types of jobs that require college degrees to do. Now we want to talk about what are the criteria for a job to qualify as a specialty occupation, which is the second ground for H-1B. I hope you are following me. Number one, for it to be a specialty occupation for the H-1B purposes, it requires a bachelor's or higher degree or its equivalent as the minimum entry for that particular position. You don't have a college degree or equivalent or university degree or equivalent, you simply do not qualify. That's what that meant. Number two criteria, the requirement of a university degree is common to the industry in parallel positions. In other words, the job is so complex that it can be performed only by an individual with a university degree, which they call college degrees here, or the equivalent, because there's a way they also value your experience over so many years that the evaluating companies, they call them credential evaluators, they can actually value it to be equivalent to a university degree. But what this second criteria is saying is that it must be a kind of job that is so complex or unique that it can only be performed by somebody with a college or what we call university degree or its equivalent. That's criteria number 2. Criteria number 3, it must be a job that the employer normally requires a degree or its equivalent for that position. It cannot just be they created it for you. It must be that employer, normally, if you were to advertise for somebody he doesn't even know, right? It will be a minimum of a university degree that they will require to fill that job. Now we're talking about the particular company now. They themselves that are trying to hire you for an H-1B position, it must be that normally that is what they require, a university degree, to be able to do the job. And the final criteria is that the nature of the specific duty you are going to perform is so specialized and complex that the knowledge required to perform the duties is usually associated with the attainment of a bachelor's degree or higher. Basically, we are still saying almost the same thing, but these are checkpoints or checklists that your lawyer will have to establish. You have to make a case for it, that the nature of the job that you are getting from that company is so specialized and complex that the knowledge required to perform the job is usually associated with the attainment of a bachelor's degree or higher one. And of course, they also consider equivalent, as I keep saying. So it cannot be a job that somebody who doesn't have a degree can do. In that case, it does not qualify as an H-1B profession. I hope you understand now what is required in terms of qualification and experience to get the H-1B. If you are just joining us, you are listening live to Law FM 103.9, where we discuss immigration clinic once a week with Dr. Kwebanwo, an immigration attorney from the U.S. We answer all your questions. Any question that you have as you are watching this or listening to this, we show the recorded version later on social media, but it is live on 103.5 FM, 103.9 FM. Join us every Saturday to listen to a fresh episode of this. If you have any questions, please put it in the chat box. Call in to the number on Law FM 103.9 so that we can answer your questions. If you are watching a recorded version or listening to a recorded version, just post your questions in whatever chat you are hearing this. We will try to respond to it in subsequent episodes of this great show. Okay, moving on. We are talking, for those of you just joining us, we are discussing today about the H-1B visa as a Japa option to the U.S. For those of you who are looking to emigrate, if you listen to my previous shows, I always tell you, you need to review your situation thoroughly before you decide to Japa. Sometimes immigration may not even be what you want to do right now. And if you're going to emigrate, you want to plan in advance so that you don't end up in the U.S. and then you're bagging groceries with your master's degree or your PhD or your university degree because you did not plan ahead. So Immigration Law Clinic with the Law FM 103.9 is where you want to go to get proper advice. And if you'd like to talk to me, if you'd like to book an appointment to talk with me one-on-one, you want to go to okwebanwo.net and book an appointment. Then we can go on Zoom one-on-one. This is private, one-on-one between me and you and your spouse or your family, and we can discuss the specific instances for your case. It might be H-1B, it might be a different type of visa that you need. It might even be me appraising your qualifications and then recommending the best type of visas for you. So please book that appointment right now at okwebanwo.net. HIB.net so that we can help you make the best attempt to emigrate. You don't want to get here and then be trying to figure it out. Okay? So, all right, so we've talked about, for you to qualify, what is the criteria that you as a worker must meet to be eligible. We've talked about the job, right? We've talked about the kind of job you must be coming to get. But what about you? What is the criteria that you must have? Of course, it goes without reason. You must meet one of the following criteria to qualify to come to the US to perform services in what is called a specialty occupation for H-1B purposes. You yourself as a person, apart from the general qualification we discussed, you must be able to have these 3 or 4 criteria. Number 1, hold a bachelor's or higher degree required by the specialty occupation from an accredited university. The university you went must be an accredited one, meaning your degree, you will have to submit it to a credential evaluation company in the US, and there are several of them. And when you book an appointment, I'll be more than happy to share some of them with you, or you can Google it yourself. They will evaluate your credentials, that is your certificate and your transcript, and give you a certificate to say this is equivalent to a university degree. It could be HND you have. It could even be a body of experience. Maybe you've been working for 15, 20 years, and you think that your job, that your experience qualifies you to be appraised as having a university degree, and that only people with university degree or your equivalent type of experience can do the job that you are coming to do. You get that? If you don't have that, it's an option. You don't have to. It doesn't have to be cumulative. Or you hold a foreign degree that is equivalent to a US bachelor's degree. Sorry, I mixed it up. The first one is that your degree was actually from a university in the US. That's that option 1. You hold a US bachelor's or higher degree in the US. You went to school in the US and you got that degree in the US. Or if you didn't go to the US, obviously for most of you, that's why you want to come here. You've never been here. The second option then is that you have a degree that is equivalent to a US bachelor's degree. That's the one I was talking about before, where you then have to submit your degree to a credential evaluation company in the US, who will then give you a certificate to confirm that your degree, whichever school you went in Africa, in Nigeria, or wherever, is equivalent to a US degree in the US. You absolutely need that to be able to qualify yourself as an H-1B professional. If you don't have that, maybe you have an unrestricted state license or registration or certification that authorizes you to fully practice the specialty occupation. Remember, we had listed some specialty occupations like computer professional, nursing, university teacher, engineer, accountant, financial analyst, and all that, right? If you don't have a degree in it, but you have an unrestricted license, state license in the US, not Nigeria, in the US, or a certification, a global certification that authorizes you to practice the specialty occupation, even though you don't have a university degree, like a nurse, for instance. Some nurses don't have university degree, but they have certification, they have a license that says they are authorized to practice nursing, and nursing is regarded as one of the specialty occupations there. That's what we are talking about here. Or if you don't have any of those 3, remember you only need one. Either you went to school in the US, got a degree, or your degree in Africa is equivalent to a university degree by evaluation, or you have an unrestricted license to practice that profession. Or number 4, you have education or specialized training, which may not be university degree, but progressive experience plus progressive experience that is equivalent to the completion of a US bachelor's degree. This sounds a little bit complicated, but it's not. It simply means you may not have a degree, but you have some level of education, maybe OND, maybe whatever, and you have progressive experience that when put together by these professional evaluating companies okay, comes to equivalent of a bachelor's degree or higher in that your specialty occupation. And then you'll be able to qualify. So one of those 4 options, you are good to go. Now there's a special category that is called H1B3 for fashion models. They are not even talking about degrees here. It requires a fashion model of prominence, distinguished merit, and ability to be able to work in the H1 category. But we are not going to dwell so much about this. But just in case you're out there, you're a fashion model of prominence, you have a distinguished merit or ability, the H1B option may actually be open to you even though you don't have a degree. But that is a special exception to the H1B requirement of university degree. So what is the process? Because just having a degree or working in a specialty occupation does not necessarily mean you can just go to the embassy and they'll give you a visa. There's a process. If you are listening to us, you are listening to Dr. Okwebanwo on Immigration Clinic at Law FM 103.9. I call it Japa without tears, but others call it Immigration Law Clinic, where we discuss every aspect of immigration for those who are trying to relocate from Nigeria or wherever to different countries. We talk about the immigration laws, we talk about the psychology of it, we talk about the social preparation, we talk about the mental preparation. So every episode is different. In this particular episode, we are talking about the H-1B visa option to come to the US. When you tune into us next week, it will be a different team that we're going to be discussing. Last week, we talked about 12 things you need to do before you even leave Nigeria so that you don't end up selling, you don't end up bagging groceries at Walmart with your degree because you did not plan your relocation in advance. So we do a holistic approach to the old Japa team here. Hopefully you have been listening to us on Law FM, and hopefully you have been learning 1 or 2 things about immigration. So let's talk about the H-1B filing process. It's a very simple process. Once you, number one, of course you have to get an employer, and we're going to talk about that in a minute. How do you even get an employer? Because it's so easy to say get an employer. If everybody can get an employer, probably this show will not be necessary, right? So let's talk about the process first. Then I'm going to give you some tips and advice about how to get that employer, because you can't apply for H-1B without a U.S. employer employing you. I hope you get that. That is a fundamental requirement. But first, let's talk about the process. Step 1, your employer will need to first apply to the Department of Labor for what they call labor condition attestation. In other words, you've got an employer who is willing to employ you, but before they can apply for H-1B for you, they first have to do what is called labor condition attestation. It's just a set of forms that your lawyer will complete for them, or that they can complete themselves. If you're an employer, that is what we do. You can also book an appointment with me at okwebanwo.net so that I can walk you and help you through the process of bringing in foreigners into your company. I know there's a lot of companies in the US who are desperately looking for employees outside of the US now, because the employees are not there. Unemployment is on near 0 levels in the US. So employers are struggling to find qualified foreigners. And as part of what we do, we can help you recruit from a top place like Nigeria, where we have some of the best top shelf graduates who are just there looking for a company to work with abroad. We can help you do the proper interviews. We can help you select the best guys from the Nigeria, and then we can help you process their immigration papers to come and join your company in the US. Please feel free to book an appointment at okwebanwo.net if you're an employer watching this, because if you also make mistakes in hiring of the employee, not only may they get their visa denied at the embassy, your company can open itself up to sanctions from the government for violating the procedure for hiring foreign workers. Okay? So the first step is for you as the employer, if you're watching this and you want to hire a foreigner or a Nigerian especially, because this show is really mostly about Nigerians who want to emigrate abroad. It is live on 103.9 FM, which is a Nigerian radio program, or radio station, although it broadcasts way above, beyond Nigeria, right? So you must first, the employer, if you are the employer, you must first file what is called labor condition attestation. If you are the employee, you need to make sure that your employer who is hiring you is aware of all of these things. Or better still, make them book an appointment with a proper immigration lawyer, someone like me with over 27 years experience. I'll be more than happy to help them, or they can book with them if they have their own lawyers. So that's number one. When they apply for that, it's a set of questions, basically to promote, to protect the American worker, that the salary they are trying to pay you is not lower than what they are paying their own workers, that you are not coming here to take the job of Americans away from them, stuff like that. It's an attestation. You just sign, you tick, and then you submit it, and then they can give you the certification, or what they call it. This is different from labor certification. Labor condition attestation is very different from Department of Labor. The Department of Labor certification, let's not confuse the issue. That one is much more involved. The one that involves H-1B is a simple set of forms that you submit just to protect the American worker, that you are not paying lower, you're not trying to get cheap labor that will take their job, they're not coming there to replace, and that there is no strike going on in that company. They don't want you to go and hire foreigners just to break the strike of Americans who are probably striking for better pay, something like that. Step two is, after we get that labor condition attestation back from the Department of Labor, okay, then we petition immigration in the US. The beauty of this is that this H-1B application is filed in the US. It's not filed first at the embassy in Lagos. So your lawyer has more control, because now if you apply in the US, if there's a problem, they will write to your lawyer in the US. Your lawyer can call them. Even if they deny, your lawyer can appeal. Your lawyer can do so many things to make sure you get a fair shake, unlike what is happening outside the country, where you just go for the visa interview and they don't even look at your papers. They just deny you. H-1B is a bit different because the process is started from the US. It is when it gets approved. In this step two, we file the application for H-1B using what they call Form I-129 to the immigration, along with submit the labor condition attestation that we got in step one, along with your degree, your certifications, all the paperwork that your lawyer will walk you through. You submit that. And then we go to step three. So once it's approved, you're going to receive an approval letter. Your company in the US will receive an approval letter. You also will get a copy if your address is on the application form. And then once that is approved, then we schedule an appointment date for you. Your lawyer schedules an appointment date for you if you're outside the US to go get your visa at your embassy in your country. This is then different from just going to apply for a visitor's visa. You're not going there to go get an H-1B visa, which is a very different, it's a specialized type of visa. And I also always encourage people, when you are doing this, if you are married, try to go with your wife the first time you want to go and get your H-1B. If you have your children, you want to take with you, okay, you want to make sure you go to the embassy with them, because sometimes it gets complicated. If you're already here in H-1B and you're not trying to bring your wife in H-4, typically some people run into lots of problems with that. I have some clients who are dealing with that right now. I didn't file the H-1B for them, somebody else did, but they were not advised properly. So even though he was married, he chose to come to the US first. Now he's trying to bring the wife, and the wife is running into all sorts of denials at the embassy. Okay, they're not saying she's not qualified. They're just saying they're not going to give her. She should come and go and apply again. They do that a lot because they're not trying to tell you that, oh, you just want to disappear into the US with your husband. But H-1B allows the husband to bring the wife. So if at the time your husband is going to go get his H-1B, you guys go together, your chances of both getting approved is like 90% or more, because the focus will be on the husband and the approval that he got. Your own becomes automatic. But if your husband goes first, or your wife, depending on who is applying for the H-1B, because sometimes it is the wife that is qualified for the H-1B and they want to bring the spouse, the husband, in H4, right? If the person that is qualified already got the H1B and went, and now you want to say, I want to go join, now they are going to be looking at you specifically. Do you have ties in Nigeria? Why are you going to go join your husband? And all of that stuff, and problems can start. Just as a practical matter, you don't have to go together. But from experience gathered from 27 years of doing this, you are better off doing it together early. Because we also don't want families to get separated because you are trying to Japa. It sounds like you don't mind now, but trust me, so many marriages have been broken. So many families have been split aside because the spouse got stuck in the US and the one in Nigeria cannot join because they did not tie up their documentation properly. They did not get the right lawyers to advise them before one of them traveled abroad. I myself fell victim to it when I first came to the US in 1995. It took me 2 years to be able to get my wife and child to join me because I did not tidy up properly before I left Nigeria. And that is why if you missed last week's episode about 12 things you must do before you Japa, please call into Law FM 103.9 and get a copy of that recording or go to their website. I'm sure it's going to be there. It's absolutely important. All right. So those are the three steps it takes. You get your employer files labor condition attestation after he has employed you. Once that is approved, then they apply for the H1B using Form I-129. When that is approved, then you go to step 3, which is to go to the embassy and get your H1B stamped on your passport. All right. I've mentioned labor condition attestation before, and I hear somebody say, what exactly is that? I just explained it. It's basically some undertakings and pledges by the employer to protect the American conditions of work. Okay, so the lawyer, the company will have to sign some pages. We say you are protecting America's condition of work, and it includes things like that you pay the H1B worker a wage which is not less than what you are paying to similarly qualified workers at your job. And that makes sense. They don't want you to go and employ a cheap labor to ruin their market. So you have to make an attestation. You have to sign that the salary is not lower. Number 2 attestation you have to do is that your working conditions of this person will not adversely affect other similar workers. In other words, you are not going to thumb it down to then suffer the rest of the guys who are already working in the company. And number 3 attestation that you're going to do is that there is no strike or lockout at the place of work. They don't want you to go and hire foreign workers to break strike, like I explained before. And the 4th condition that they attest to in that form is that they have given a notice to the labor representative in that company that they want to hire a foreigner. It's a very serious thing with them. The labor representative in your company must be notified that is the company that wants to hire you, that they want to hire a foreigner. That's it. It's just a form. It's different from the full labor certification process where you have to prove there are no Americans willing and able to do the job. That's not this one. You don't have to prove on the H1B team that there are no Americans willing and able to do the job. You only need to do an undertaking that the condition that you are giving to this new foreign worker is not less than the ones you have right now are enjoying. So 2 different things, even though they get confused together many times. Again, if if this is sounding a little bit technical to you and you would like to sit down with me one-on-one, you want to book an appointment at okwebanwo.net. Of course, I've also written several books that can help you where I discuss all the types of visas to US. It's called USA Immigration Without Tears. I also did another one for those who want to go to Canada, USA Immigration Without Canadian Immigration Without Tears. I have one for the UK, United Kingdom Immigration Without Tears, and a 4th one on Australia, Australian Immigration Without Tears. So those are 4 volumes that I've written that I encourage you to get a copy of, because in each of those volumes, I discuss every type of visa from the one that requires employment, education to the one that don't require education, the one that requires investment to the one that requires high-level skills. Every one of those visas are discussed. You want to go to okwebanwo.net, the same URL on your screen, to get any of those books. Trust me, it's the best money you can spend getting any of those books out there, because it breaks down all the checklists so that you are ready. Some of you, there's some visas that you are qualified for right now, they are not even aware that you are qualified for it. But by the time you get USA immigration without tears, or maybe it is the one with Canadian visa without tears, or Australia or UK, you will know exactly what you need. You might not even need a lawyer. Once you have your checklist and you know you can gather it yourself, you might actually go out there and do your thing. So be sure to check it out. Now, to keep moving here, as my time begins to wrap up now, I have a few more minutes to go on this show. Hopefully, you are having fun. If you are just joining us, you are listening to Law FM 103.9, the best channel by far for anything legal as far as Nigeria is concerned. They're not just doing visa in that station. They're doing entertainment. They're doing legal issues, analysis, anything that has to do with law. That is the number one station right there, right here. You want to check it out. Law FM 103.9. And you want to keep it a date with them on a daily basis to know what is going on, especially if you're a lawyer or you are interested in things of the law. My own show is once a week for Law FM, for Immigration Clinic with Dr. Okwebanwo. Hopefully, you have been getting some nuggets from this training, or rather from this show. Post your questions, please. And I know some of these things, some of you want to develop it further with me. You want to talk more about it. Please book an appointment at okwebanwo.net, okay, for a one-on-one discussion with me. Now, let's talk a little bit more about this H-1B visa cap. Each year, because H-1B just really requires, at the end of the long English, for you to have a university degree and be working in an area that requires a minimum university degree to get it. It's fairly easy to get if you have the qualifications and you have the employer who is filing for you. So there's every year there's so many people that apply for it that the quota every year is filled, believe it or not, within the first 1 month. 65,000 H-1B visas are given every year. And what happens is that lawyers like me, we get all these clients, we prepare their documentation, get everything ready, and immediately they open it up in March. We file all the applications same time. So you might find out that maybe 100,000 applications is put in the very first week that H-1B window was open. So over time, they realize that a lot of people, you may file 2 days after it opens, and they will send it back to you and say, the application is already closed because too many people have applied. So what they've then decided to do is that the 65,000 that they issue every year, okay, the breakdown of that is released. They have everybody that applies, they take only 65,000 can be approved each year. Then they added another 20,000 for those with master's degrees from USA institutions or who are working for non-profit organizations or government research organizations. So that's an exception. So you might say, really, it gets to like 85,000 people because they have a 20,000 reserved or added for those with masters from USA institutions or working for non-profit organizations or research organizations. So as I was saying, every year there is a maximum of 65,000 that is issued, right? So because so many people apply, they then put everybody, because they want, for instance, you might get 100,000 applications put in. Because lawyers everywhere, especially the Indian lawyers, and now we Nigerian lawyers, we're also understanding the game. You want to make sure you market this H-1B to as many people as possible with a university degree so that they can get opportunity to come to the US. So what they then do, because more than 65,000 apply, and for it to be fair, so that they're not just picking the first 65,000 they see in the mail. Because you can argue that your own was delayed. Maybe you made from Nigeria and all that. So what they do is that they take a month to receive all the applications, and then they do what is called a lottery, which is one that is getting confused. Lottery of all those who apply, and then they pick the top 65,000 from there. So you may even be qualified. You may have a job. You may be in a specialized profession, and you apply for H-1B. They may not even consider your application. Forget the approval now. We're not talking approval. We're talking about even selecting your application to be considered for approval. Because the fact that they selected you from the lottery does not even mean that automatically they will approve you. They still have to review your application to make sure that it qualifies with all the other requirements before they approve it. But to even get to approval, you must be selected from the H-1B lottery that they are doing this month. And that is what some people are confusing with the general open lottery. I hope I've been able to, I started by explaining this, and I hope that you also get this. All right, for some of you who may be able to qualify for this, of course, you want to start working far in advance. Because if you start working in March, it's already too late. You want to start getting your lawyer or your company together by April, May, June, so that everything you need to do, the evaluation, the labor condition attestation, everything is already done, is ready, waiting at the top, already prepared to be sent to the mail before March 1st. That is what I advise my clients. So if you are just listening to this now and you are just hearing for the first time, you may actually be out of luck for this year's zone. But right now, we're in the H-1B season. And by the time March is over, it's done. Okay? All right? So let's talk about something else. Does your spouse or children benefit from the H-1B visa? Yes. Your spouse and unmarried children under 21, they get what is called H-4 visas. The only downside of this is that it does not allow them to work. But at least you're going to have your wife with you. You're going to have your kids with you. And of course, when your wife is here, they can always change. If they want to work, they can always change their H-4 visa to another type of visa once they're here. Because once you're in the US, the options are plenty for you. There are many options that can then allow your wife or your spouse, your husband, if you are the one that is the H-1B person, your spouse, let me just use the word spouse. So that's not like I'm trying to say that only men can get H-1B. No, in fact, more women are getting it than men these days anyway. So your spouse gets an H-4 visa. And that H-4 visa, they can actually then parlay it to a different type of visa that allows them to work later. But we're talking today about just the H-1B. I hope you are learning all this, you are getting some stuff. And if you have any questions, please feel free to post it in the chat for me. And I promise you, if I cannot respond directly on that chat, we're going to compile it. 103.9 FM and myself will compile your questions, and sometimes we just answer all of that in a separate broadcast of its own. All right, so now let's go to the last part, which I think is probably the most important part. Yeah, it's all well and good to say once I get an employer who's going to be employing me in the US, then I can come to the US with an H-1B visa. Remember, H-1B visa, they give it to you for 3 years. I don't know if I talked about that. And then it's renewable for another 3 years. So you can actually be in H-1B for up to 6 years, where you're allowed to work, you're allowed to bring your family and your child, right? And then, of course, H-1B also can be converted to green card with several options open to you once you are here. But the most important question then is, how and where do I get a job in the US? Every time when I make this presentation, I have my clients always asking, can you get me a job? Can you go help me get a job? I'm not an employment agency. Even though I try hard, I'm working hard now to try to see if I can get some employers to give me orders to help them get employees from Nigeria, because I know we have some incredibly qualified people in Nigeria. People who have had a degree for 10 years, 5 years, 15 years, and hardcore workers that I know they're going to love if they get them to the US. But you need to get that job first. So for you to be able to position yourself to be in the H-1B level, you need a job offer from a US organization. That is non-negotiable. There has to be a company in the US that is employing. So how do you get that? I'll just treat a few things before my time runs out. There are many organizations out there right now, I know you don't believe me, who are looking for employees from abroad. Every time I teach this, I tell people that. But they tell me, oh, it's difficult. But when you ask them, how many places have you applied? They have not applied to any of these places. I'm going to give you some websites where companies from abroad right now, companies from the US, some of them have job offers there that have been there for 6 months, 1 year, with nobody applying. So if you really want to go abroad and you need a job, you don't need me to go look for one for you. Even though I will try to get others, then I can come and do interviews in Nigeria. But you don't need me to do a favor you can do for yourself. Go to these websites. Number one, the Fast Hire. The Fast Hire. TheFastHire.org. The Fast, as in running fast. The Fast Hire.org. Number two, Indeed.com. It will surprise you how many people are getting jobs from Indeed, because there are thousands of jobs there. But people just keep complaining, oh, I need, can you help me find a job? They've not even gone to fill out application. Number three, LinkedIn. Yeah, that same LinkedIn, LinkedIn.com. They've got a whole employment site where lots of US companies are looking to hire people from abroad. Some of them are even specific that they want to hire from abroad. They're not even looking for workers that are in the US. They want to bring their own from abroad. All you need to do is do yourself a favor. All that time you are wasting fighting on Twitter and Facebook, do yourself a favor. Go be filling out application in these places. It doesn't hurt you. If you are submitting 20 applications a day, for the next 30 days, that's 600 applications you will submit. Statistically, you are positioning yourself better to get somebody to employ you. There's Glassdoor.com. Glassdoor. Like in glass, right? Glassdoor. Glassdoor.com. There's also the Ladders. Ladders as in climbing. The Ladders.com. TheLadders. The Ladders.com. Then there's also ZipRecruiter.com. ZipRecruiter.com. FlexJobs.com. Flex as in flexing. Okay? FlexJobs.com. There's CareerBuilder.com. There is MyVisaJobs.com. All these companies, many of them are focused on recruiting from abroad. And you can get an employer to take a chance on you by going there. Then I'm going to share a few tricks with you how you can get yourself in the game. Remember, again, I'm going to go over it quickly. Indeed.com, LinkedIn.com, Glassdoor.com, theladders.com, in case you are writing it down, Monster.com. I don't think I mentioned that before. Monster.com, Monster, Monster as in animal. All right, Monster.com, ZipRecruiter.com, USAJobs.gov, USAJobs.gov, FlexJobs.com, Jobs.goabroad.com. I like that one. Jobs.goabroad.com, CareerBuilder.com, MyVisaJobs.com. That's 12 different websites I've given you. That is where you start to search for employers today. Don't let anybody do for you a favor you can do for yourself. You might be out of the H-1B consideration this year because we're already in March. But if you start working today, by this time next year, you could be in America. Get the employer. The employer then gets a lawyer. You can even if you are planning to pay for yourself, some employers will pay your lawyer to help you file this H-1B. But if some of them are hesitating, you can then offer that you're willing to pay for your lawyer to get your papers done for you. You just need them to give you that job. Now, what happens is that as you begin to fill out jobs in these places, some of them will call you for interview, because most of them do Zoom interview now. And one of the questions they may ask you, and this is important, they'll ask you whether you already have papers to work in the US. Don't tell them no and don't tell them yes. Don't lie. Just tell them you're already working with a lawyer, especially if you have done consultation with me and we're already looking at options. They don't need to know how far your case has gone. Just tell them you are working with a lawyer to get your working visa done. You just need to make sure this job thing is sorted before you got here. So many of them will leave it like that, not knowing that it was even the job offer they are going to give you, they are going to use to apply for that H-1B. Many of them are ready to employ you and wait for a year. Trust me, I'm one of them. I've employed some analysts before that we have to wait almost 9 months to join us because the job is scarce. Paralegals are scarce. If I'm hiring a paralegal now and it's going to take them 1 year for them to come and join me, I probably will wait because I know my jobs are not going away. So some of these employers will be willing to give you months to come in there. The trick is for you to keep searching those sites. There are some of them specifically that will even tell you if you qualify that they will handle your immigration papers for you, meaning that they just hire lawyers, they will pay for the lawyers. H-1B is not cheap. It's not a cheap visa to apply for, both in terms of fees and what you pay your lawyer. So if you get an employer that is willing to handle it for you, good for you. But if you are willing to pay yourself because an employer doesn't want to pay, then go for it. If the employer is willing to really hire you, but they are hesitating about the cost of or the stress of going to go process for H-1B, tell them you got that covered. That you have your lawyer who is working with you to get your papers sorted. That the employer doesn't need to worry; they just need to give you that employment, and that you will sort yourself out. And then once they do that, and you hire your lawyer, then whatever we then need for them is going to be easy for me to get them for you, to get it for you on your behalf. Because once they have committed themselves, they will not have a problem giving us whatever documentation we need to support your petition. Just don't tell them, oh, I don't have papers. Tell them you are talking to an immigration lawyer to help with your papers. Right now, you are just working on getting a job so that when you get to the US, you are not just jobless. See? So please go try. People are getting jobs on these sites every day. You just need to do some more hustle. My time is up. But I want to assure you that there are plenty of job opportunities in the US for people with college degrees. But you have to go source it out. There are employers out there who are looking for you. Honestly, to pay you what you are worth with your degree, not to come and work as bayard kind of thing, not to come and do a grocery bagging, even though there's nothing wrong with that. But if you are more qualified than that, why do you want to do that? Go to those sites. I gave you 12 of them. Flexjobs.com, usajobs.gov, jobs.goabroad.com. There are many of them out there. Glassdoor, theladders.com, careerbuilders.com, thefasthire.org. Just set aside 1 hour a day for the next 30 days and put in 2 or 3 applications. That's all I can do today. Remember, you are joining us live on 103.9 FM, Law FM 103.9, and you want to tune in every day for the best in law from this amazing radio station that is doing great things where anything to do with legal is concerned. And of course, you want to tune into my show every week for Immigration Law Clinic with Dr. Okwebanwo, where we look at both the pros and cons, the before and the after, every aspect of your Japa desire. And I look forward to talking with some of you on the charts, right? Please go out there and book your appointment at okwebanwo.net to have a one-on-one discussion with me about your own specific situation. God bless you. I will see you.